Hi friends, I'm Jeffy G. I've been testing out Handy Drums by Goran Grooves, and it's pretty good. It is slightly different than some of the major drum software packages, and it's a little less known. And there's an interesting way it's configured for mix-ready processing. But there's a built-in feature that I think sets it apart, and I gotta show you how this works. It's a bit of a secret. Now the Goran Grooves drums come delivered in 15 different flavors representing different kinds of drum kits from jazz to reggae to rock. And each one of those kits has an assortment of drums that sound really good. And where some other drum packages deliver a sequencer and a bunch of features for programming those drums, Goran relies upon the sequencer that's built into your DAW. And they use this mixer metaphor. So when it comes to programming or creating drum beats for your composition or song, they deliver a Midi browser for browsing through the grooves that they deliver. And they deliver a pretty extensive library. And what I like about that browser are two things. First of all, you can browse and loop the sounds of those MIDI sequences before you drag them into your DAW. And one significant differentiator is it's not restricted to just the grooves that come delivered in the package. You can use this browser with any MIDI grooves, including your own MIDI library. I have a Logic project here where I've opened up just one of the Handy Drums series, the vintage standards. They sound like this. We'll go through a bunch of the sounds a little bit later, but what I want to draw your attention to is just some of the features that are built in. You have this mixer metaphor, the chord drums and the percussion, all having been assigned to specific channels, and you can mix them as you see fit. But down here, you have a button that opens up the MIDI loop browser, and I think this is one of the most underrated features. And it's great. In fact, I've been looking for a MIDI loop browser for so long, and this fits the bill. What this does is directs you to the default location where all the Goran Grooves MIDI files have been stored. So you select a file, click on play, and you get to preview a bunch of the files. You can click on this loop and it'll just continuously loop that file until you hit stop, or you can click on this play all MIDI sequences and it'll just work its way down the list, which is pretty cool if you're just trying to listen to what's in there. So the concept here is that they deliver all kinds of MIDI files, thousands of them, and you can browse through them looking for a particular groove. And when you find something you like, you just drag it into your DAW. What could be easier? Off to the right, you have a favorites window where you can store quick links to all of your favorites. At the top right, you've got three options for playing back those MIDI files. You can use the tempo that was built into the file. This MIDI file was intended to be 100 beats per minute, or you can link it to your DAW, whatever the tempo is of your DAW. In this case, my DAW is set to 120 beats per minute, or you can pick a specific fixed tempo and it'll play back all of your loops at that tempo. I just find this environment really simple and useful for browsing MIDI files. And when you're listening to them, you get to hear them using the drum kit that you've currently selected. So right now I've got Vintage Standard. But one of the things I find particularly cool about this MIDI browser is that it's not limited to just the MIDI files from Goran Grooves. You can use it to navigate to other locations on your hard drive. For example, I have an extensive MIDI library that's in my music folder, MIDI, drum grooves. And within here, I've got all kinds of MIDI files I've accumulated. Some of them I've downloaded on the internet, some of them I've bought. So if I go into, say, Fusion, Funk Style, I can browse these files too. And that's what I really appreciate here, is that I can use this single browser to browse any drum MIDI file not just the ones that come from Goran Grooves. And if I like that file or that directory, I can add it to my favorites. To put this in perspective, I use ADSR Sample Manager for browsing audio loops, and it's great. I'm really happy with that. But it doesn't let you browse or preview MIDI files. I haven't found a utility that works well for browsing MIDI files until I came across this, and it's kind of a hidden secret that's buried into Handy Drums, but it works for any MIDI files, which is awesome. The marketplace for drum sounds and samples is huge, and it's tough to know what direction to go. You can buy one of the leading packages, or you can collect a lot of your own samples, downloading a lot of free things from the internet. Or you can create your own library of drum samples, which is something I've accumulated over the years. I want to be able to use those within the framework that Goran Grooves gives you. And I think that's pretty unique. So if you've been looking at some of the major competitors, get the free trial, try it out, listen to the sounds, and if you like it, take a look at that browser and see if you find it as useful as I do. I always try to bring my audience something interesting and new. But if you found this video useful, click on the like button, maybe leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.